Welcome to the Rugby Bits podcast. And today the adults have left the room and they've left myself and Kooks to go over the European Champions Cup and Challenge Cup quarterfinals, to think over what's going to happen in the home stretch of the URC and to generally catch up as well. Kooks, I've got you. We were talking now just before we started recording about your awesome weekend at the St. Stithians Festival. How was it? Are you recovering from that?
Hey, Tals. Hey, guys. Good to be back. Yeah, Jesus, good fun. I mean, Joburg, January, that's probably one of the best weekends in Joburg is Easter weekend. Obviously, all the festivals, yeah. I mean, all the old boys come out. And yeah, it's a tough weekend to be a cold one. And the weather actually played along for a change. Last year was pouring with rain, so it made it terrible. Yeah, St. Stephen's was good fun. Probably the best game I saw that day was Bishop's Helpmakar, the biggest rugby side I've seen in a very long time versus Bishops who are literally trying to run it from anywhere. But yeah, it was all festivals seem to be very good, and generally the rugby in Easter is good. But yeah, I think now we look forward to the normal derby days. Private schools are still on holiday for a bit, but now the general derby days come back. I'm telling you right now, the biggest game this weekend, probably bigger than all the URC games, is Grey Bloom versus Otaniqua in George. Otaniqua's got a very good side this year, and I think it's their 150th year up against a very, very good Grey Bloom side. They're probably the two best schools in the country at the moment, so that's going to be an absolute cracker.
Yeah. No, I caught myself watching a bit of the action over the weekend. Shout out to Marist College, had a great weekend in Joburg as well, beating JP. I saw that there was also at the Super Sports Schools channel 216 for South African viewers. I saw that there was even under 13 rugby that was happening there. And yeah, Kooks, I know you have your experience with coaching, and it's going to bring me to a bit of an impromptu, non-official first phase question. But just watching that under 13 game, I was just like, geez, I didn't realize how badly kids play rugby, because there was so much space these kids were not using, and they're not even trying to fold in defense. There was like no communication. It was basically just get it to the big guy. He gets past a few people. You try to do 2 or 3 passes in a row, there's a knock on. But I saw Adrian Slabbert had this question on Twitter on Sunday about what the biggest coach killers are. And I saw you had a few things to contribute there. So wanted to hear about those coach killers of yours.
Well, one is, I mean, I was at Woodridge, obviously coaching first team, and then the one the college didn't play St. Andrews, but the prep played St. Andrews, so I was off that weekend. I thought I was off, and then I took over that 11A side, and I could not believe how much space there was behind the gain line. So I put together this game plan of trying to obviously try playing behind St. Andrews. Then my headmaster comes to me in the middle of the game and goes, "Stop that kicking and try and run it." I'm like, "Well, they're faster than us. So like, it doesn't make sense for me to try and run it because they're faster than us, but there's space in behind." But my two ultimate coach killers is defending for about 5 minutes or 3-4 minutes. On your own halfway line, you win a penalty and your kicker does not find touch. And you proceed to defend again for another multiple phases. That absolutely, it irks me. My second is, and probably my biggest one is because at Woodridge, we could never take kickoffs. So my coach and I we coached for about 6 years at Woodridge. I think you probably took about 3 in all those years. And like scoring a try and then knocking it on a kickoff it's the worst for me. Like you kick off and then you like all the momentum back. And I tell you, like we probably tried about 8 or 9 different kickoff formations. You know, two props lifting, splitting guys. We just could not take kickoffs. Like it was just like, I don't know what it is. We tried everything, but that, and I mean, obviously you get the old age of not finding 10. But when you score a try and you don't exit properly after a kickoff, it's very frustrating. Like just giving back that momentum after you had scored. And I think the third one I'll say is conceding a try in the opposition 22 when you have them pinned back. They're about to scramble, and then you concede a try, and they get an easy exit and the line out again. That one is that one is frustrating. What are some of yours?
Yeah, I think those are two of near the top of the biggest issues that the Springboks have actually as well, because we've been really bad with kickoffs the last few years. For some reason, we'll just concede either a knock-on or a penalty when we receive our kickoffs. And we all know Handré Pollard and his tendency to not put out a kick into touch when the game's on the line. He loves to pull that trick as well when, in games as well. I think mine is just and I was a hooker once, so I have some sympathy. I know it's not always a hooker's fault, but you get the penalty, you kick it out, you're in the 22 of the opposition, you're going to set up for a rolling maul or some move, and then the hooker doesn't throw straight. That kills my soul. Oh my goodness. That really will take away any sort of like goodwill I have to a team. It really, really kills me. And obviously we have our hookers that have issues with that right now, especially I think Bonambi and Dweba at the moment aren't really doing well if they're throwing. But New Zealand hookers are the best at that, because obviously those New Zealand hookers aren't really there for hooking. They're there to play like third outside center. And Kevin Mialamo used to be a favorite with that. And I think especially in those years with Victor Matfield, you just knew that line out in the 22 was ours. And I can't imagine how Graham Henry was feeling when he had to watch that over and over again. But just to share some of the other coach killers that were shared there with Adrian, there's one about, spurning a 4-man overlap by cutting back inside with try-line fever, only to be tackled and poached. Yeah, I think that's also just a horrible coach killer, because there's always that one player at Kooks, and I'm sure you must have had one or two in your experience as a coach. There's always that one player that will always cut inside for himself for the try.
Yeah, always. Or also, even worse than that, skipping an overlap. When you're 4v1 and the guy just skips two players, and then the wingers gets tackled out. Then you're like, what are we doing here? Oh, yeah. But the cutting inside one hurts me. And you just cut inside. You're like, but why would you cut inside? That also, my favorite one, my worst one also is a wing being tackled out. Don't get tackled out. Come on. Like, you're not forced. You know there's no space on the outside. Cut back in. Set up another move or another phase so we can play rugby again. Like, a wing being tackled out for me is unprofessional. It's unprofessional. Like, what are you doing getting tackled out? Like, I don't get it. Like, I can never, unless you're going for a try to win the game or something. But I don't, like, if you can take it on the halfway line, I don't understand what are we doing here. Like, sorry, coach, I thought I could round you. Like, why? Why now?
Another one that I'm thinking about now. I'm gonna pay for your high blood pressure rates after this as well. But another person was talking about pre-try celebrations that lead to like a knock-on or something. And obviously that's a big one with high school kids and parents and coaches as well. I remember, you have every year that one second team player, usually a fly half, that should be playing first team, but he's not disciplined. So in one of those years at college, this guy took an intercept, I think 50 meters from the line against, I think, Westville. And he started jogging, he started looking around the like everywhere, and then obviously the fullback caught him. And the coach, and I mean, look, this was in the 2010s, so you can't really do these things anymore. But the coach actually took him by the collar and just threw him out the field. And we were all saying, look, this guy should play first team, but we were like, nah, fair enough. We totally get where the coach is coming from here, because you can't do things like that on the rugby field.
No, 100%. The celebration one is the worst. But I'll give you one last one. This is the last one. There's nothing worse than this one for me. You win a penalty on the half line or something. So, like, there's normally like sometimes it's like a little pause, like you have like a minute to see someone's trying to get up. So at that stage, you're like looking at other coach and be like, listen, what are we going to call now when you offer this line out? And as you turn back, there goes your 9, who has quick tapped on his own, and then boom, ball gets stolen back. And you're like,
so the Herschel Yankees against the Lions.
Yeah, and then you're like, what are we doing? Like, why are we kicking? Why are we all like, or as you're about to give a call, your 9 quick test and knocks it on. And it's like, especially if you didn't see it as a coach, you turn around and you're like, so why are we scrumming now? I never called scrum. And then it's like their ball, you're like, knock on. So you're like, when did we knock it on? And then you ask the captain, is like, no, James, quick tap, sir. And you're like, wow. Like, how did we get here? You're like, oh, man, like, we have time. I'm about to say. And then since that moment, it happened to me my first year coaching for Woodridge. But then since then, we got a designated grade 8 kid who sat next to us the coaches. So as soon as we got a penalty that was in range, he just ran on the field. We didn't ask the captain what he's thinking. The kid just ran on and with the T, like, yeah, kick. That's what we're doing. Don't have any ideas. So by the time we ever go, the grade 8 kid is on his bike. Go, cheers. With the T, give him. Kick. There's no... and there's not like a, no, but sir, he gives him the T and like, hey, kick for poles. That's the call. There's no... And then other parents be like, other coaches like, no, let the kids think for themselves. Like, you can do that under 15 days. We're trying to win a derby there, yeah. So you must kick for poles. We 5 meters out. Like, what else? What other option are we going to do? Like, I don't understand. Like, kick for poles. So that's what the grade 8 kid, we most used to get normally the wing, and you would tell him as soon as, and we will send him with a T, like, go, run, kick, tell him to kick for poles. None of this quick tap and knock on nonsense.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand why coaches get grey hairs very quickly in this job. And speaking of grey hairs, there was a few that came on some South African head coaches' heads this weekend with some of our results in Europe this weekend. So we had 3 teams that were in the European Champions Cup and Challenge Cup quarterfinals this weekend. And after this weekend, we now have 0 teams that are in this. So just to run through the results, Leinster started the weekend beating Leicester by 55 points to 24. Toulouse thought they could do it. They could do one better, beating the Sharks 54 points to 20 in their game in Toulouse. Then it was the turn of Exeter. They faced the Stormers and they beat them 42 points to 17. Then La Rochelle coming with a very, very close, tight game of 24 points to 10 against Saracens. And you know, that was just the whole theme of this weekend was the home teams dominating and getting big scores. And then quickly in the Challenge Cup, you had Scarlets beating Clermont by 2 points, 32 points to 30. You had Benetton beating Cardiff 27-23. You had Glasgow beating the Lions 31-21. And then Toulon taking some revenge for last year's Challenge Cup final, beating Lyon 48-23. But Cooks, let's start with the first South African game, which was the Toulouse versus Sharks game on Saturday afternoon. Game with a lot of controversy, a lot of thoughts and takes about TMOs, all that sort of stuff. But before we get there, I think actually for at least 60, 65 minutes, the Sharks really outperformed themselves and they did really well on Saturday. I was really impressed with how they're able to keep the intensity and play against Toulouse and play fire with fire, because it just showed that when they want to, the Sharks can actually be an organized team.
100%. I think that first 60 minutes was probably the performance of the season. To go to France and against Toulouse was one of the best sides in Europe. And yeah, I thought, and to hang in there and to sort of match them blow for blow, I thought that was great to watch. Curwin Bosch, that's the Curwin Bosch we always rave about and the one that we always want to see. And I genuinely was impressed with the Sharks. I don't think the 50 points does reflect on the game, but I mean, in the day, it's hard to start to concede 50 points and be like, yeah, but it doesn't, like, yes, Toulouse won and they are the better side. But I thought that the first 60 minutes was very, very impressive by the Sharks. Obviously, Khaleesi, another good game. I'm been very impressed the way Notshe is playing since he's been starting. But but unfortunately, I mean, there are lots of controversial things and TMOs. But I've got a very, very hot take about that, which I'll say for a little bit later. But yeah, but again, Thala, like, does that also not sum up the Sharks season? Like, glimpses of good, and also then we also shot 50 points as well. I think that for me, that performance does kind of sum up where the Sharks are.
And when you think about it, yes, there was some good things, and I think some good planning from the Sharks. I mean, I think especially in the first few minutes, Bosch was executing the kicking game so well and really didn't allow Dupont and Thomas Ramos and Ntamack to get on top of them by sort of putting them in their half. You could see the Sharks were trying to play with a lot of pace and try to match the pace that Toulouse was playing at, trying to tire those big Toulouse forwards, of course. But at the end of the day, it's still the same issues. I think with all the positives, there were still some negatives. Like, let's not even get to defensively first, but let's start with just an attack. I think there was a lot of situations where it did still feel individualistic, where it did require either Curwin Bosch with a turn of pace or Grant Williams or Butter Chamberlain for the one try or Makazole Mapimpi just being absolutely brilliant in that disallowed try for Williams as well. Like, there's still a lot in the Sharks game plan that relies on individual brilliance, which means that they're not creating space for themselves. The game plan is not creating space for themselves. As players are creating space for themselves, which is an issue that comes later. The lineup still has its issues. I don't think Monambi's at the best form with his throwing at the moment. I don't know. Obviously, not having Etzebeth doesn't help, but the lineout was having its struggles. But then defensively, goodness, there was a lot of weak tackles, especially in that last 10 minutes. I don't think will ever see a worse Lukhanyo defensive game than that. There was quite a few missed tackles that he had. There was a lot of times where he was pretty much the last person to tackle or to try and tackle someone before a try in those last 10 minutes as well. He probably tired in that game. And there's just a lot of situations where Toulouse, I mean, the signs were there when Toulouse, where they had that yellow card to Malia, and then they had a scrum, I think 50 meters, like around the halfway line, and Toulouse had 6 backline players and Sharks had 7. And then Toulouse was able to round the Sharks in that backline move. That's concerning. You can't, with the number disadvantage, just run around another team's backline defense. So I don't know what the Sharks' defensive game plan is. It seems they're trying to rush up and trying to sort of stop the ball in the midfield, but it seems so easy for teams to just get around them. And constantly, there must be a reason why they always concede about 20 plus points every week, because their defense has been really not good this whole season. It's so bad that Lukhanyo looks like, actually this weekend he looked bad, but in most weeks for the Sharks he has looked pretty normal or average.
I mean, the first alarm bells you could probably see when the Boks got back was that loss to Scarlets. And the Scarlets managed to get around the Sharks also quite comfortably as well, and then win they had in Wales. So I think that was the first alarm bells. And obviously, I know they put 50 on Munster, but they also conceded 30 points as well. So it's kind of a hard place to be going to play against Toulouse, coming off conceding 50 points in 2 weeks. And then now you're going up against arguably the best player in the world in Dupont, one of the most mercurial and random wild players in Thomas Ramos, who was doing Thomas Ramos things again on the weekend. I mean, that we said a little kick pass on the floor and someone had put, but apparently you can only kick for poles. But anyway, what do we know? But you get you get the if your defense is in a bad place, especially in the back line. I mean, where you're just getting teams are just able to get around you. I think that's what does happen. I mean, you look at like Ntamack's try, but you're like, guys, it's not even like a show and go. It's just like, guys, this is like, you can't just waltz through a defense like that. I mean, and we know the qualities of Romain Ntamack, but it's like, he hasn't been Romain Ntamack, the one the people expect to see all season. He's sort of been like a very more reserved sort of role in terms of finding space and just kicking and sort of dictating, as opposed to the running. Or apparently, according to Twitter, if he's not picking the ball up in the try line and doing goose steps, he's not playing well. So, but I think, I think the Sharks did at the end. They did gift Toulouse a lot of tries to make it look worse than it is. I think obviously it does take a toll when the calls aren't going your way as well. But like, I also do think, guys, it's very hard for us to expect our sides in the first year of us playing the Heineken Cup to go and just, it's like asking, like, to go and just win in Toulouse. It's like asking Like, let's say, for example, Glasgow joins Super Rugby and go, listen, you have to go beat the Crusaders in Christchurch in a semi-final. Good luck. No one else can do it. Like, there's certain things in Super Rugby where it goes again. Beating Toulouse in Toulouse is not for everyone. Beating Leinster in Ireland is not for everyone. So for us to have made a quarterfinal, I think is a good start for the Sharks. I think could potentially be in that mix. I do think the Sharks are in that second tier and Toulouse and in that Toulouse Leinster area, and I think we kind of saw that this weekend. Can we play up there 100%? But we can't go to Toulouse coming with 50 points where the scholars can run around you and Munster can run around you. I think you're hiding to nothing.
Yeah, I think just quickly on that point, I think the big thing for all the Saracen sides going forward is if they want to be in the Champions Cup semi-finals next season, try to get the top seeding so you can play all your knockout games at home, at least until the semi-final. Like, that has to be a prerequisite if they want to actually win this competition, because as now we've seen with the travel and those circumstances and playing away from home, especially we're going to get to it now in France, you're not going to win many knockout games away from home. There's a reason why it was 4 out of 4 for the home teams this weekend, and I think even 4 out of 4 in the Challenge Cup as well. So there's a reason why you try to get that top seeding to play the knockouts at home for most of the time. So the Sharks lost their chance to be in the semi-finals by losing to Harlequins away from home. The Stormers lost it by losing to Clermont away from home. They need to make sure that they nail those pool games next year. And then, I think the second thing is, like you said, Kooks, I think you're right that we can't really expect big things in terms of our teams winning away from home in a knockout thing. Obviously, I think a lot of it is just the Bulls have, when they beat Leinster last year, they've changed the perception that we had about our teams and how good they are. Because before that win, I mean, the world would be so different. And I think Saracen fans wouldn't be so arrogant about the club competitions. Because before that win, yes, we came back really well in the URC. We were getting our wins at home, but we were pretty average away. And we'll set up for a Stormers Leinster final in Dublin, and probably Leinster would win. Then when the Bulls won away from home in Dublin, then we thought just we could win everything away from home. And now we see that that was a once-off. I don't know where Saracen fans think they're going to win all these away games away from home in knockout games after flying during the week when we literally didn't even do that in Super Rugby as well. So that's always quite surprising. And don't even get me started on the flying conditions, because I don't know, Kooks, if you saw that video from the Lions about some of their players having to fold their knees and their tendons in order to get into their seats. That was horrible.
I fly better when I go for super sport schools than I Springboks fly to go play in a flipping European Cup quarterfinal or Challenge Cup quarterfinal. I mean, no, it's ridiculous, but it's one of those things. Like, Charles, I've been quite in a bit in a heated mood the last couple of days. I don't know if it's a public holiday, but I've had lots of time to think. I just think
as South African fans, this is your time.
As South African fans in general, we're quite an arrogant country in terms of rugby. Obviously, because we won the last World Cup, and fair, we're allowed to be arrogant. So we can expect things. Like, we expect just to waltz, like last year, just to waltz into France and Ireland and just beat Ireland and France because you won the World Cup, and that's fair. So it's like, and like we don't care about form. So it's like, I don't care if Ireland has won the last 15 games in a row, but we should beat them there anyway because we're the Springboks and we're from South Africa. But the Sharks were just waltzing to Toulouse and just in a new competition, and we're going to beat Toulouse in Toulouse. I'm like, guys, let's be realistic here. like, can we just take a step back? We're in a new competition. Like, even like now, people like will go like, if the Springboks, I'm a massive Springbok fan, and I always want the Springboks to win 15-0. But I also think there's got to be some sense of like, it's got to be realistic here. Like, if the Springboks win the Six Nations now immediately, we'll all go, be winning we're grand slamming, baby. First year out. We'll go win in Paris. we'll go with, just because you won in Twickenham by 30 points, we think like, yeah, we can go anywhere and win. And you're like, guys, can you calm down? Like, can we just have some? And I know, like, how can we expect a Sharks team that's been struggling for consistency and be like, how can they not win in Toulouse and things like that? And yeah, calls don't go our way, and that happens. That's my thing with the TMO thing. If just to go to touch on that, because I understand what the frustrations. Yeah, those are forward pass. Yeah, missed calls happen. But for example, Pat Lambie wouldn't have had his greatest ever moment if we did not keep showing that replay over and over and over and over and over and over until Nigel Owen saw it. The exact same thing happened. I remember watching the game and going, oh, he's missed it, but then he goes over, and then the crowd goes on, and then what happens? To get a penalty, Pat Lambie's a hero. So my thing is, guys, if you play away from home, there's certain things that aren't in your favor. Whether it's the TMO director, the TV directors, or certain calls go the home way. That's what, like Thala said, that's why you have to make sure you play at home to negate all those factors. There's been many times watching South African teams where you see something happen in the build of a try. Then the next 5 replays, you don't see the other replay again that shows a forward pass here or some guy getting knocked. And I've seen it many times. I work for SuperSport. It happens. It's part of its home field advantage. So it's like, we can sit and complain about it. And I agree. Yes, some calls, and I'm not saying that the bad calls, it shouldn't happen. I'm just saying that's the things about playing away from home. And I'm a big believer in when you play away from home, it can't be easy. The home ground advantage, it has to matter. So like, I see people having an outcry like, no, we need independent directors. That should happen in internationals and World Cups and things like that. But in these European games, unfortunately, that's what happens. That's what happens when you play in France. For the people the first time tuning into European rugby for the first time this season, that's been going on for years in France. That's not the first time that's happened. I'm sure there's a whole list of Saracen fans and Irish Leinster fans who felt the wrath of French TV directors. We felt the wrath of the French TV director end of last year. I'm telling you, if that happened, the same thing would have happened here. Clips would just vanishly just gone away. It happens. It's the first time. Pat Lambie's game, the Pat Lambie game gets replayed almost every year now because of that. So we can sit in our house and going like, oh, it's against us. We've done the exact same thing. But when something happens to us, we kind of forget it. But that was my only biggest crap. I'm like, guys, that's what happens when you play in France, unfortunately. That's why you win your home games and you bring sides, yes, so they can play in altitude at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we have our own TV directors here. We have our own comms here and our own things like that here. So I don't think you need independent TV directors for like the European Challenge, European Cup, and European Challenge Cup. World Cup, 100%. That's a World Cup. But domestically, sorry. Same local TV directors, just win your pool games at home, and then you have the home field advantage.
What did Virat Kohli once say? Whole country playing against 11.
Thank you, SuperSport. I remember that. Shame, those guys are taking my employers there. But
look, I mean, I'm gonna take you off the hot seat because I mean, Victor Matfield literally said the same thing in the post-match analysis, which I was like, this is shocking. I was like, I'm not sure if the bosses at SuperSport are going to be too happy about this. He was like, no, we do this all the time in South Africa. And if SuperSport was the one showing the match, they would have done the same shenanigans that the French directors did. Obviously, France, I think, takes it to maybe another level. It's almost like, I think we have the same conversation with cricket as well with pitches, where all countries prepare pitches for their own sort of home advantages. We all prepare Green Mamba in South Africa for facing India. And then India, you go play in like I don't even know what to call it, like something that's just breaking down before you, that dust bowl. I'm already on day one. So those pictures
that what a friend of mine once told me a story about in India where 2 weeks leading up to the game, they're watering it. I mean, the pitch is being watered, and then the week of the game, like when the media got there, the guy's like, hey, listen, why isn't the pitch being sprayed? The guy's like, sorry, unfortunately, our our hose isn't working. But it's like, yeah, but the sprinklers on the outfield is like, can we use those ones? Like, no, we've got a special hose for the pitch. That one's broken, so we can't spray the pitch. And then so the Proteas lose in about 2 or 3 days. And then Thala, when I tell you, 30 minutes after the game ends, the guy with the hose spraying the pitch. Guys like, yo, we fixed it. we found the issue. Sorry, we fixed the hose. There we go. Play on. Like, sorry guys. Next time you come back here, it'll be sorted. But the ODIs, don't worry. It's gonna be sorted. Okay? Bring Rabat and the boys. It's gonna be perfect. All seam attack.
Very convenient. No, I think, we can't moan about these things, especially number one, where I think, especially if you ask cricket and rugby teams that have toured here many times, we're probably close to number one offenders in this as well. And number two, that's the whole point of having a home advantage. Like, should it be so blatant? Maybe not. But there's no way of stopping it really. And I guess even for a World Cup, like, it is a neutral broadcaster that usually does it, so there won't be as much control. And I guess and I want to hear your thoughts, Kooks, because we know in football that they don't play replays on the big screen, probably more for their own safety than anything else. But do you think that's where rugby should go as well, and not play replays on the big screen so that you don't get the crowd involved? Because I think the big thing is obviously the crowd. Once the crowd starts seeing the replays and starts booing and all that sort of stuff, the referee is under pressure to make a decision. Do you think that's where rugby should go? We should have a little VAR TV as well. And we know as football fans how well VAR's worked in football right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Because I'm a big fan of the crowd being able to see the decisions. And even look at cricket with DRS, the crowd can sort of see what's happening. And then you do get the crowd noise when things coming. It's a big part of it. But I think it's tough because with rugby, the transparency of the TMOs is kind of what, for me, it's made it work like better than like say like a VAR, for example, where no one knows what's going on. And if you're in the stadium, no one knows. The ref doesn't know. It's just all a guess basically. So it's just silence for about 5 minutes, and you just wait. And then my worst thing with VAR, after the guys watch 5 replays, they go to the referee like, "My man, I think you should go on a small TV and watch because I'm not making a decision." But I think with rugby, I think you got to stick to what it is. I think what makes rugby so difficult is that a lot of laws in rugby are down to interpretation. That's the hard thing. So you're always going to have controversies where this referee sees the breakdown this way or this and this, but things like forward passes and things like that, I think that's, for me, the tough one as fans to miss out, because a forward pass is a forward pass. But I do think that the TMO should be, like, the crowd should be able to see. And I think my thing is, don't take out that home advantage factor. And unfortunately, if you play away from home, if you play at home, certain things go your way and certain things don't, especially like in a playoff game where if you want to get the home game, so you have those sort of calls going that way, because where the clips, or like when Ireland played France, this Ireland, and remember that the one, I think James Lowe's foot came out.
And
then all of a sudden, after the trial was given, all the other angles of the clip came out like 5 minutes later. I'm like, guys, where were these angles? But again, it's home field advantage. And I think that's, as fans, sometimes you got to go, if we're at home, we get that call. And that happens. It definitely happens. So I don't think they should change much of it. I think us as fans, I think South Africa, we will adapt. We will adapt to life in Europe. It's still our first year. I know we want to win everything. It's still our first year. And I'm telling you now, if the Sharks or Stormers make a quarterfinal next year, if something similar happens, we're going to have a lot of the Rugby Bits version, the French version of Rugby Bits will be having the same chat and the same frustrations, trust me.
100%. A few quick things just to wrap up on this game. I think you shout out all the main players from the game on Saturday. Curwin Bosch had a great game at 10. I think that was probably one of his best attacking games that he's had in ages, especially considering the stakes. Probably close to one of his best games ever, actually, when you think about it, Kooks. I'm not too sure if there's many games that come to mind that are better than that.
No, not many. Not many better than that. And I'm just glad he's been catching a lot of flack on social media. And Curwin Bosch is what he is now. I think we just got to accept it.
Yeah.
And Like that's the sort of play is amazing boot. He struggles defensively. And again, unpopular opinion, I don't mind a 10 that can't tackle. Boren Barry can't tackle. But no one gives him Boren Barry gets hidden away as often the All Blacks. I mean, Bernard Foyle, Coopers get hidden away. But in South Africa, it's like you have this thing if our flyers can't tackle, then they can't kick, pass, or run the ball as well. So Curwin Bosch is what he is now. I think people got to embrace it. He's a great, is good on attack. The boot is an absolute weapon. Maybe he might end up being a fullback in the future, or he moves to. But if he plays like that, the Sharks are near unstoppable. And to be fair, the Sharks have looked better on attack with him at 10, with this backline than they did with like Peter Chamberlain or Lionel Cronje. So for me, I think going forward, unless they plan on, I don't know, moving Wayne LeBock back to the Sharks or Henry Pollard coming back and playing for the Sharks, Curwin Bosch probably still the 10 to go.
And then, is there a better 19-15 combination in World Rugby right now than Dupont, Ntamack and Ramos? Because Dupont has 5 try assists. Ramos scores, I think, 29 points in total. Ntamack scores probably one of the best individual tries you'll see in a while. Like, they are just crazy in attack.
Thomas Ramos is... it's like, you can't actually describe what his attributes are. Like, is he quick? Can he sidestep? He's just chaos. He's chaos. And like, he's out of all the, like, you look at like with Dupont, I mean, he's a freak, but he's got a lot of structure, and Ntamack's got structure, and a lot of the French side and Toulouse side have got a lot of structure. Thomas Ramos is the only like French player. It's like in the ilk of the old days. That's what he is. And oh man, like he was absolutely on one on Saturday. He was fantastic. I think at the moment it's hard to find a better 9, 10, 15 combo that's playing as well as they are. And what the thing that's scaring me as well, if I don't even notice, tell them each passing month they've gotten better. So it's like, which makes the Leinster Toulouse game. Oh my goodness, that is that's going to be the way with them getting better and better. It's going to be an absolute cracker. And I mean, God is a freak. Oh, I actually can't deal with how good he is at the moment, actually.
And every week he just does something new that's crazy. And speaking of just freaks, I think this is the first introduction for many South African fans to a big, a player's going to be a big name in the next few years, especially for France, which is Emmanuel Meafou. That man, I don't know if you can call him a man or a monster. Like, I think he's Will Skelton on steroids, honestly. I think, yes, people can say like Skelton is great and all that sort of stuff, but I think Meafou's probably better than he was at this age. And he is a one-man ball stopping machine. He obviously can carry the ball really well. I felt sorry for Morgan Bonambi because it felt like he was the one that was marked to tackle him most times. And sheesh, Morgan's shoulders must be so tired from that. Like, he's just able to create momentum by himself, and he can offload out of the tackle as well. It's amazing.
He's amazing. I think we got our first introduction. I think it won't be the last we see of him. We need the Springboks and France in the quarterfinals. I need to see him and Eben Etzebethko head to head. I needed to see it, Taylor. I need to see it with my eyes. Like, I need to see even bring Buckets Porter back on the bench, make it a triple threat match. Like, Vince McMahon will make it happen. He would make it happen.
Oh, he'll definitely call them back. Don't worry. He'll probably throw in Goldberg as well. You know Vince with those things. No, he's going to be great. And France with Willemse and Tafafuna getting past their 30s now, they have another big meaty lock to put in there. Kooks, I mean, this was now a conversation that I was having with some people after the match. The choosing between playing New Zealand and France in a quarterfinal for the two teams that come out of Group B seems like a very hard choice, because you're either going to face that home advantage that France has, and you can see how wild the crowd goes, especially if there's like a decision against them, and it's going to make it so tough for the teams, the referees, and all that sort of stuff to play against that. And obviously, the All Blacks are the All Blacks. Yeah, I'm definitely landing on the thing that yes, the All Blacks are able to kill us, but I don't want to face France in their first knockout game because I'll put it this way: I don't think France are going to allow for their team to get knocked out in the first knockout game. They're going to at least go to the final week by hook or by crook.
Yeah, you're right. It's sort of fun choice. But it's almost like something like, rather the devil you know than the one we play in, year out. To be fair, we haven't played the All Blacks in a playoff, in the World Cup playoff probably since 2015. Yeah, it's a terrible choice to have. It's funny because the All Blacks are definitely the weaker side, but they're definitely a bogey side for us. Like them and Wales for some reason. Damn Welsh and Warren Gatland. But like it's just France. Like I think the more we approach the World Cup, the more worried I am of them. Like this year, it's the same thing. Like I have the same feeling with Ireland after the last Six Nations. They came second, but you're like, oh, geez, this side is. I know they came second and didn't win the Six Nations, but they look like they're clicking the right cylinders. The same as France in this year's Six Nations. They may have come second, but you're like, oh, there's something happening here. They're clicking. They're looking good. They lost to a very good Irish side, and now the domestic sides are playing well. The sides that you want to play well. So I don't want to choose. I mean, I'm hoping the third place team in their pool does a mayhem and they end up doing something, knocking knocking the All Blacks out in the group stage. I mean, they haven't. That's what we need. One was the third team in their group, Georgia or someone. Like maybe they can do us a favor.
It's Italy.
Yeah. Oh, geez, never mind. Italy will be like up by 20 points in the All Blacks to get in the group and lose in the last 5 minutes because they don't know how to close the game out. That's the problem.
Well, we'll have to trust on Uruguay then. So
that's my guys.
Now now let's move on to the other quarterfinal exit for South African team, which was the Stormers being beaten by Exeter 42 points to 12. Kooks, I think we all had much more hope with this game. We knew that the Sharks were just, they're up and down team. There's very little chance that they'll beat the Great Toulouse away from home. But Exeter, they're not in great form in England. I think they're about 7th or 8th in the Premiership. They obviously had that extra time win where they won by counting back of tries. I don't know why this always benefits English teams, that they count back boundaries or tries and then they win, but they had to play 100 minutes. And the Stormers have been obviously one of the hot teams in the URC the whole season. So I was thinking, I mean, yes, the Stormers aren't great travelers, but this is probably the most ideal match for the Stormers to overturn Exeter and to get into the semi-finals. But from minute one, it became very clear that Exeter was here with a plan, and they executed the plan really well. But that also, the other thing was that the Stormers were just not the races on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think John Dobbo summed it up. Dobbo Pocock 2024 summed it up nicely at in his press conference, saying that that first 20 minutes is probably as flat they've been in a very, very long time, probably since 20 COVID Stormers. So it was and if you're gonna be as low as that against Exeter, who basically seem like they're doing like a one-loss run in the European Cup, like they're just going like us, we're out the
last dance.
Yeah, this is our last dance. Yeah, and listen, but also, and ironically to how flat the Stormers were, that's probably been the best Exeter's been in that first 30 minutes they've been all season. And if Exeter plays that well, they can blow any side out of the park. And losing Deon Fourie was massive. Like you said, I think on Twitter you asked about Ntamack, he's about all season. That's also massive. That's going to be big implications for the URC game. But yeah, just with the Stormers, it's not the races. I mean, like understandably that Exeter did play 100 minutes, but when Stormers did land in England probably 5 minutes before kickoff, the way the Oaks are flying these days. So, like, it's just yeah, there has to be a better way to solve this in the future. I think that's the biggest thing, the travel factor. And it's hard enough playing away from home and then obviously landing and leaving on a Wednesday or Tuesday and getting there. It's not easy. It's hard, and having to go to Qatar and then relive FIFA World Cup memories while you're waiting for your next flight. Like it's annoying. It's frustrating because like those teams are hiding to nothing. So bear in mind, I sort of fight like TMOs and all of that. So yeah, and it's a pity because I do think the Stormers probably stood the best chance to go and win something. But again, if you look at it again, we lost at Sandy Park to Exeter. We lost against Toulouse. I mean, those Exeter. I mean, Exeter is the side that's been to a European Cup final. It's been, you look at the last probably 10-ish years. They've been in that mix. They haven't won it, but they've been in that mix. I don't think they've won it, but they've been in the
last 2020, I think.
Yes, they won. Yeah, yes, they won 1 year. Yeah, but I mean, so they've always been in that mix and up there. And so we've lost to sides that are almost European royalty and good sides. The Stormers will probably be disappointed because of that start, and they definitely think that. Yeah. I thought they would be the one side to win away from home. Saracens also letting Saracens as long as La Rochelle. But again, it shows a good Saracens side away from home against La Rochelle. Different gravy. Anyone struggles playing away from home in the European Cup. But yeah, Stormers will probably be more disappointed with that start. But I still think for next year, I think I can still see them making a semi-final next year. But yeah, Flip, you struggle when Oaks are saying goodbye South Africa and it's Thursday while you're busy watching Europa League and he's also leaving the country now. So I mean, what can you expect?
Yeah, I think they were trying to get some of the first drinks in for the Easter festivals. Yeah. Speaking of, apparently that was a big reason why they were delayed with their flights, because everyone was flying up and down the world because of Easter weekend. So yeah, maybe not the best to organize a quarterfinal and an intercontinental tournament during the Easter weekend. So yeah, that was a bit of a
why these things planned as if they're going to a mate's wedding. Like, man, I can't fly on Thursday, so I have to come in Saturday morning because I never knew you and Kim were getting married on Easter weekend. So now I'm going to move to the Saturday. Like, oh, so what is going on here? This is the biggest European competition in the world. Surely there should be flights being put on standby, saying, listen, there's flights here. That's my thing. Common sense, right? If Stormers got a chance of playing in South Africa, and let's say La Rochelle could play in Cape Town, sure, there's going to be sites when flights book in reserve. Like, okay, Monday morning, there's a flight here. If not, boom, you cancel it. Okay, whatever happens. Not this thing of, okay, you guys need to book your flights on Monday. Can you, obviously doesn't help you flying economy as well. You book your flights on Monday and sort of figure yourself out, exactly like we're going to our mate's wedding.
Kooks, I mean, I think I tweeted it. This sounds like those 19-year-old kids from that had rich parents that went on a Kontiki tour. You're just getting onto whatever plane has space and you're just going there for vibes, basically.
100%,
I was discussing this, I was discussing with my wife, and she basically made the same point. Why didn't they book seats or book off seats for themselves? Because they knew that they'd either be playing in Cape Town if Montpellier won, or they'd be going to England if Exeter won. And they knew this from January earlier this year, so they could have had these tickets booked.
Yeah, but
and hopefully get some sort of.
If I'm not mistaken, the competition is the one that normally books the flights, not the actual teams. It shouldn't be like that. If I'm not mistaken, it should be. I think teams get given flights, cash for flights and being sorted that out. But it's something. There's a big connection, a big thing happening with this. Obviously, we talk about URC and things like that. That has to be sorted out as soon as possible, because you can't go on like this. I'd rather go back to us traveling to New Zealand, but it is flying at normal times on a Sunday after a derby, and then this thing of remember, because the dream was, hey guys, we play in Europe, we're not gonna have to do those jet lag and fly across the world, and then like in reverse, like, but instead you're gonna fly there on Wednesday and go to Qatar first up, and then if you're a lock, good luck finding a seat that's comfortable. Like, so I'm just hoping they manage to sort it out so we can see our best teams in the best positions to win away from home. Because it's hard now to ask a team to win away at home if you're landing so late. And I'm not making excuses, but it's a big factor.
But yeah, so then what's almost the point of going to Europe if we're not even going to get that benefit? If it's going to take almost the same amount of time it would take to fly, obviously at that other side of the world, going to New Zealand, Australia. Like, this seemed like you're back in a time machine and you just heard the Storms are going to play the Crusaders in Christchurch. They're going to have to make a 27-hour trip all the way to the other side of the world. They arrive on like Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, I think we arguably arrived earlier for the New Zealand Australia games than we did in these games, because we arrived only on Wednesday to Europe, and we're now sort of fighting jet lag and getting ready. And I mean, people are basically getting off the plane for captain's run. Like, yeah, this defeats the whole purpose of this thing. But from what I understand, with the URC, we have to fly with Qatar, which has its own issues, obviously, of having to go via Qatar for matches. So good luck to for the knockouts or the teams that qualify, because if you go away from home, you have to do it the long way. I think for the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup, that was organized by the teams at Saru, from what I understand. And they basically are the ones that are booking, but it might be true, Kooks, that they have to do it through the competitions. But again, either ERCC or, the Sharks, the Storms, and the Lions, like, put some seats away, guys, please, man. Especially the Lions are sponsored by Emirates. How is there not deals for them so that at least their locks can sit in comfortable seats? Like, yeah, that once someone, I think it was Jared actually on Twitter, once he pointed that out, I was like, we are actually not even doing this right. Like, Storms are sponsored by the biggest like transit company in the world. Like, surely there should be a deal through that. Lions have Emirates. Like, how are we not at the very least saying Type 5 and 1-star player, you guys have business class seats? Everyone else, I'm sorry, you have to lift your game up. Like, Frans Malherbe can't be next to me in an economy seat trying to, sneak a trip away to Europe for a week or two. Like, Kooks, we can't be, I can't be booking in the same way that Frans Malherbe is booking. Like, I'm trying to book tickets now for going to the World Cup in September, and I'm very excited about that. And I'm also looking at, okay, Tuesdays are actually the cheapest day in the week to fly to Europe for some reason. Obviously, it's in the midweek. It seems like the Saracen teams did the same thing, and they said, oh, it's Tuesday the cheapest one. Let's go all fly on Tuesday. I'm not playing a professional rugby match, Kooks. I'm not playing as Antoine Dupont and Thomas Ramos and Henry Slade and Ollie Woodburn. They are playing against those people. How are we doing the same arrangements? And then, let me just carry on this rant. Then Rob Lowe coming onto Twitter and tweeting that in 19 Footsec, they flew on the weekend economy when they were playing in New Zealand in the tour in apartheid. Sir, you are not a professional rugby player. With all due respect to the people you're playing against, they're not Antoine Dupont. They're not Romain Ntamack. They're not Emmanuel Meafou. Like, we're playing serious people, not policemen and part-time plumbers and teachers and whatever Warren Gatland and Wayne Pivac and those people were doing back in the day. Like, it's not the same thing. And we need to find actual professional solutions for professional teams.
100% agree with you. Because, like, if you go like, well, pre-94, like, the game was only professional from 96. So that means that's from there on. I can't reference back to when the game wasn't professional. Now it's like, guys, the game is professional. So we need professional solutions to the professional game. Not like, well, when we were there, we didn't complain about the fact that we played so and so and so. Yeah, but you also had to work then. Like, it's the things like of the guys who go like, yeah, if like back in the old days, like back in this way, we did this and this and this. And this is why our game, it made us tougher because we could ruck back in our day. Now you can't. I'm like, hey, sorry, you guys were doing attempted murder on Oaks and hitting Oaks in the head, and that was fine. Like, they have concussions now. Like, I like the fact that there's Oaks who can play rugby until they're 36, not Oaks who are like 45 now who can't walk, but at least they are, hey man, at least my day I couldn't. I was racking. I'm just like, okay, cool, that's great, but now you have constant headaches now. So who's winning here? But but you're all right. I mean, you can't you can't be booking flights on Tuesday, like you said, like you can't be sitting to Frans Malherbe and be like, so what you doing in England? No, I'm going to go to Exeter. And you? No, I'm going to go on holiday. I'm going to drink beer for about 2 weeks. Oh, okay. Why are we flying on the same flight then? By the way, like, well, aren't you a World Cup winner? Yeah. Oh, okay. Like, and by the way, I'm not giving you the aisle seat. I'm very comfortable. Like, you enjoy the middle seat. Like,
there's not a chance I'm giving Kolisi, whoever, the aisle seat. I'm sorry, man. If your team can't book you nice tickets, that's on you, man. That's on you.
Ain't no way. Like, you can look me in the eye, like, man, I can't give you the seat. I booked the seat. I booked it. I'm sitting on the window seat, and it would be like, but I'm a World Cup winning captain. But my man, I am a World Cup winning seat booker, because clearly I've won here. So I'm sorry. Like, what can we do? But I'm one of those persons, like, they still believe that all sports teams should fly first class. I 100% do. Like, I still do. Like, you, especially whatever, like, provincial, fly first class. I mean, they flipping the best players in the province or in the country. Like, what do you mean you're flying here with me? Or I'm not the best player. I'm not the best worker in my division. But I'm just the one that's available to fly somewhere. Like, I'm sitting with, like, one of the best. Like, if you fly domestically, like, why am I sitting next to Wilkanyam? Why am I sitting next to you in Peninsula? Like, why are they next to me? Like, I don't understand. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why are they next to me? Then was like, no, but
the box. Like, the box being sponsored by Safi is hilarious.
Yeah, should their own plane then? Like, fly their own plane. Like, it's like, I don't understand. Like, when you hear, like, stories about teams like, we had to get on the bus, and I'm like, why are teams driving to Potch? Just get on a plane or to Bloom or something. Like, we drove from Joburg to Bloom. I'm like, gee, no, put them on a plane. They're professional rugby teams. They can't travel the same way my first team Waterside travels in.
No, I'm sorry. Like, and you could see, just going back to the game, you could see, like, Frans Malherbe had probably his worst game in a while. Like, he made 2 big defensive errors that he never makes in other games. And I can imagine it's because he probably, had to, like, fold up his legs when he was sitting in that plane for 12 hours. Like, he missed that one read at the back of the line out for that inside board to, I think it was for Woodburn, because he was the person at the back of the line out. And I think in that one other try, he was sort of that pillar post defender, and the backline players exposed him there. And usually France at least obviously stops people. And, like, as we know now, he has a great and high defensive work rate. But you could see that Exeter was very targeted with how they exposed the Stormers in their defense. Also felt sorry for Suleiman Hotzenberg, who I think learned, through the School of Hard Knocks, like, what playing wing is about, because Woodburn was targeting him the whole game on Saturday. And yeah, he made him make decisions in defense all game.
And I think also 100%, it's one of those things as well. Like, I think the Stormers, like, everyone had a bad game. Williams had threw an intercept at the end there. Something as him forcing a pass, something he probably hasn't done since, but early 2021. Like, those glimpses of old David Williams where he was forcing things. But, like, I think the Stormers chalk it up to just a bad day in the office. And I think, unfortunately, came at the wrong time. I think also, like, people don't have to overreact to it. I just think, it's a bad day in the office, but flat. Unfortunately, it just happened on the wrong occasion, because, I mean, like, they were very, very good against Harlequins the week before. And it's never easy beating Harlequins. I don't care how their domestic form has been. But yeah, for me, that's unfortunate. It's one bad 30 minutes, and that kind of killed the game. And then they just couldn't bounce back from there. So yeah, unfortunately, like, that's how I chalk it down to. It's a great team having a bad performance just at the wrong time, and that happens to many good sides. And it's tough when Exeter decides to be in last dance mode. Like, again, La Rochelle, like, it wouldn't surprise me if they get in the final and miss on in the playoffs, the Guinness Premier League. They're going like full on 2012 Chelsea mode.
Yeah, you would know something about that, Kooks. Let's go to the other two Champions Cup quarterfinals quickly. So that is Leinster beating Leicester 55 points to 24 and La Rochelle beating Saracens 24 points to 10. Kooks, maybe I'll start with you if you have any thoughts about the two games. Anything that you picked up from those two games.
Leinster is an absolute juggernaut.
Jeez, Garry Ringrose.
Whoa. Garry Ringrose is playing like a man who's going through Shoba's, yours, Jared's, mine, old tweets as motivation. That's what he's doing. He's in amazing form. But Leinster's an absolute juggernaut. Leinster's lost a game in this whole season, eh?
Nope.
Jeez. They're going to drop one. I'm telling you. You can't. And it's going to be in the semi. That's my hot take. They lose. They're going to drop the game in the semi and win your semi. Do you think that you can't do it? Hey. You can't go through the entire domestic European season unbeaten. I refuse to believe that. You can't do that. There's too many games.
Remember, Kooks, remember that this weekend for the next 2 weeks, they're flying overseas now to play the Lions and the Bulls, and they've brought the Reece Ruddock All-Stars to play there. So they're facing the Lions this weekend, so they're probably going to get a loss in either this game this weekend or next weekend because they're literally bringing the kids there for this game.
The Reece Ruddock All-Stars are going to win both those games. I feel more confident, but I think so. Reece Ruddock.
So you think the Leicester Currie Cup team is going to beat the Bulls Currie Cup team?
The Leicester Currie Cup team drew against the Stormers team. When half of Ireland was still drunk, those are the 22 remaining rugby players in Leinster, and they found a way to draw against the Stormers, the defending champs. But you're right. I mean,
fair point.
They should lose one, but I mean, but generally, like for them to be unbeaten this far, and if they lose a game, it will be because they brought out basically the E and F team. Which is insane. But the Leinster is a juggernaut, and like La Rochelle as well. I mean, I thought Saracens was going to win. I thought Saracens would win away from home, but it just shows how. I mean, when La Rochelle are defending champs for a reason, so the defending champs for a reason, and again, like Thala, you mentioned, it's very, very hard to win European games away from home, especially the deeper you get in the knockouts. Home form does matter. And I thought, but Saracens also went great as well. But Leinster, I can't deal with how good Leinster is at the moment. Like, it's actually like, and there's not like I think Johnny Six played like 5 games for them, if he's even played rugby for them this season. Like, it's bad when Leinster aren't even bringing Ross Byrne to South Africa. He's even getting rested. They're like, my man, you go to England, go to Italy now, rest. Like, how can the starting and reserve 10s have both be rested? Now you're playing against like Teddy Pendergrass and whoever's coming, whoever's remaining from like Leinster. Like why can't they come to South Africa? Like why can't I watch? Like, I'm working at the Bulls Leinster game next week. Why can't I watch Johnny Sexton? Why can't I watch Garry Ringrose? Like, why? Why can't they? Like, why can't they at least send Ross Byrne? I call it the URC GOAT. The least they can do is send him to South Africa so I can watch him play. But now I must watch Teddy Pendergrass and
you can watch Jason Jenkins.
Yeah, but he's coming back home to see his family. He's just using rugby as an excuse. Like, he's probably going to play. He's going to like, guys, if I come home, I'm just going to spend time with my family. I haven't been home for a while. And the thing is, they could actually win both those games. That's the worst part. That's the part that scares me as well. Like, I don't think, even when they're playing against the Kings and the Cheetahs, I don't think Johnny Sexton came to South Africa. I don't even think Leo Cullen came to South Africa. I don't even think Stuart Lankin came to South Africa. They just basically, like, it's a 2-week camp for those to prepare for European Cup. Or they're basically like going back to Peter Marner's house and continuing the flipping celebration from the Six Nations. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is where we're at the moment. But I think Leinster. I mean, Thala, honestly, you look at this quarterfinals. Let's get some real rugby chat here. Do you think there is stopping Leinster? Do you think that they're gonna go and it's hard to, especially like since they're playing all the games at home apparently. Like I mean, the
in
finals
Dublin,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
what do you think?
I don't want to make a call yet for Toulouse Leinster. I think it's going to be an epic game. It's probably going to be similar to the France Island game this year, like just crazy rugby being played at an elite level. I wouldn't even be surprised if Johnny Sexton, like we hear like his music come on in the middle of the game and he makes a comeback. Like, let's do it all WWE style. Let's go for it. Like, yeah, I can imagine. And I think Toulouse also have a little bit of a lead there in the top 14. So they can also try to rest their players for 2 weeks' time. So I think if there's going to be a team that stops Leinster, it's going to have to be Toulouse. And I think Toulouse could if they're all fit and everyone's firing. But I lean towards Leinster. Like if Leinster has everyone available, if Josh van der Fleer recovers, and I think Ronan Kelleher should be fine by then, and James Lowe has an injury, and Ryan.
Are you naming Leinster's? Are you naming Leinster's team or Ireland's team? Because it feels like you're naming them. Basically naming the Irish team.
Same, but different.
Same. Just in blue jerseys.
Yeah, Blue Island. But yeah, if all those, if it's strength against strength, in Dublin, I'm gonna have to give it to Leinster. But yeah, I think the best chance is either Toulouse getting a victory. I don't think Leinster will be as ambushed next time or the other opportunity is that because if I'm not mistaken, the semi-final and the final happen consecutive weeks because the Champions Cup is a stupid competition and they can't organize these things. So that means that the URC semi-final happens the week after that, or the URC quarterfinal, I should say. So for who's the 8th place team, which I think is likely to be the Sharks, you can probably do a Bulls and just surprise them when they play the Reece Ruddock All-Stars, or at least a mix of them in that quarterfinal game after the big final against La Rochelle. So that's probably the only opportunity that someone can do an ambush on them. But otherwise, it looks like Leinster is going to do the double and probably get their losses out of the way in South Africa in 2 meaningless games for them. Yeah, Garry Ringrose. Yeah, I know we'll call it, I don't know I can't even think what the slander name was back in the day. Like, I don't know. Maurice Joubert with the big reputation or something like that. But he's playing amazingly right now. Like, just both of his tries were just classic outside center play. I don't want to say it, but on Friday, he looked the most Brian O'Driscoll that I've ever seen him look. Like, just the way that he took those lines was just amazing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's playing like arguably like the best 13 in the world at the moment, and that's the thing you got to say until obviously I know Lukanyam's coming from injuries, but I mean, if you talk right now, it's a Twitter fans don't kill me. I'm not saying he's better. I'm just saying at the moment, currently.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be hard to stop Leinster. I mean, it doesn't help they have the final at home, which is the dumbest draw in the world. Like that annoys me. It's like when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Super Bowl at home, and or the Rams. You're like, what the hell? Like, you don't think these guys are going to rock up here in the final? Like, oh my word! And then, I think Leinster's going to be hard to stop. I wouldn't be surprised seeing Johnny Sexton has got 2 games left for Leinster, which is the semi-final and the final of the European Cup, and then he's going to be like, the champions.
I'll see you in September.
Names. Yeah, I'll see you in September. I don't do URC finals. I've got enough of those. I'll see you in September. And then like probably his own camp. He's like tell the others like, you're going to go on camp and then chill. But yeah, flip. Yeah, I also I'm going to call Leinster to lose. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to just quickly say, like, just with on the other side of that draw with La Rochelle, I don't know if you saw the game, but Levani Botia had one of the best individual games I've ever seen. Oh my word. Like, he was a menace in the breakdowns. I don't know if you watched like Heinrich Brousseau or Richie McCaw videos the day before. And I know Botia's good in the breakdown, but I've never seen him at this level in the breakdown.
Yeah, like obviously we know when he's being destructive with ball in hand, but like so it's almost like you're channeling back like peak David Pocock. Oaks couldn't move him off the breakdown, but La Rochelle, I think again La Rochelle, they're also a very very good outfit that always goes underrated, and they keep popping up in the semi-finals and then finals. Ronald Gara is an exceptional coach who I definitely think is getting a call post World Cup for a national side. And flip, I just think, like you said, the other side, I mean, that La Rochelle Exeter semi-final is also very good. Because, I mean, Exeter's a very good side. I mean, on their last dance, they'll back themselves to go and win in France. I mean, Exeter got nothing to lose because, I mean, well, besides all the, like, all those players are pretty much wrapping up their time in Exeter. So they have nothing to lose. And they won't be favourites. So they can go and just have a ball, have a jaw and throw the ball around. And then from there, they can just go. Not pointing them flying back to England. They can just go to all the respective clubs. So basically just be Rob Baxter coming back on his own.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one, I think, on both sides. But yeah, I think La Rochelle just carries themselves like champions. And that's probably the biggest compliment right now. Like, they had some hairy moments with Ulster. They had to win in the last minute. They had to win in the last minute, obviously, against Gloucester as well. And the Saracens games wasn't easy compared to the other three games for the other three teams. But, they just pulled away and they just never looked like losing. Like, it's rare, like, going into a game and you make Owen Farrell, Mario Toje, Billy Vunipola obviously got injured early. Max Malins, Alex Good, Marco Villampola, Jamie George, Ben Earl, those sort of players look relatively average. And that's what La Rochelle was able to do. I mean, Botia ran in between Farrell and Itoje for that try. The try that he created for Kobalo. And Kobalo's playing brilliantly. People are now saying he should be the Wallaby scrum half and all that sort of stuff. Like, they just have all the good things that you need from a team. Like, the front row is fantastic with Antonio and Wadi and Bugarit. They have a great blocking pair. They have, the pre-upgrade version of Meafou and Skelton. They have Laval. They have Aldred in the loose trio as well. Like, and then obviously, like you said, the backline's also quite lethal. And Anthony Astor is playing really well. Like, I think he's a much better fly-off than Ihaya West. So they've improved on what they had last season. So look, whoever gets out of that semi-final from Leinster and Toulouse, they are definitely not going to have an easy game against La Rochelle. And yes, Exeter, will give them a game, but I think it's easy going to be a La Rochelle victory. Maybe only by 3 points, but they'll win. Let's look at the Challenge Cup quite quickly. And yes, we have to apologize last week for not watching the Lions when they were winning in the last 16 against Racing. Now, for full transparency, I haven't actually had a chance yet to watch the whole game from this weekend. I did watch the highlights. I think Kooks did the same. But yeah, quite an entertaining game that they had against Glasgow. But obviously Glasgow is just too good. The one thing that the Lions can take home with them is they made Glasgow kick their first penalty kick of the year. So that's the first time Glasgow had to kick a penalty kick to get points this year. And they did run them relatively close. But at the end of the day, you can't do much about Sione Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones. And not Darcy Graham. Carl Steyn was jumping in the line-out for the first try. Did you see that, Kooks?
Yeah, I did. But yeah, you are right. I mean, I think obviously the Lions was a great run. I mean, you come against arguably one of the most on-form sides in Europe at the moment. In Glasgow, we've been playing exceptionally well. And I mean, I can't say this enough, but shout out Franco Smith for the job he's done at Glasgow. The rugby they play, they play amazing rugby. I made on Twitter a list of my favorite teams to watch, and I forgot to add them on that list. I mean, Carl Steyn's also, he's been incredible. He's had a great year as well. Now he's jumping the line out. He was great in the Six Nations. You know how I feel about Hugh Peludu. Hugh Jones playing good rugby it makes me so happy. He's in the Thomas Ramos range of those guys who just they're just ballers. Damien Pinot's in the same way. They're just mercurial. Like, They don't have like out and out pace or big or massive side steps. They just out and out. They just cause havoc and they just ballers. I mean, Hugh Jones probably runs the best lines in world rugby at the moment. Geez, like he's try again. The lines that he's running, the stuff they're doing on attack. I mean, like that Carl Steyn line out and they that fake maul as well. I'm like, there's options everywhere. I was like, yeah, okay, this is a serious attacking outfit, and I'm very excited to see them in the playoffs. I think I would love to see another Glasgow Stormers game in Cape Town. I think I'll fly for that because that's going to just be entertaining rugby. And I think a side like Glasgow would do well against a side like Leinster, where I feel like Leinster will struggle to grind them down. They'll almost have to make it a 30-point affair where it's going to be try v try and make a sort of game like that. But the rugby gods, please, can we get Stormers versus Glasgow? Please.
Let's see what they have cooking. And then just quickly a word on the semi-final matchup. So Benetton, their first European semi-final in their existence, they're going to be facing Toulon. I think they're facing them away from home. So that's obviously going to be a big mountain to climb. And then Scarlets are facing Glasgow in the other semi-final. What are you leaning towards at the moment?
Oh, those are two very good semis as well. I'm so happy for Benetton. Every year there's just sort of, I mean, you're a Bulls fan, so you know Benetton quite well from the Rainbow Cup, so not a surprise for you. But Scarlets, though, listen, I'd love to see Scarlets kind of winning the whole thing, or Glasgow. I must say, with Scarlets, the nice thing about them, Dwayne Peel, I remember him playing for Wales at 9, and he's done an amazing job with them. Obviously, the stories that's come out of Wales have been great, but I think they've been sort of an unsung hero of a team and gone through very under the radar in the ERC, having beat the Sharks a couple of weeks ago. But they're also playing really, really, really nice rugby. So I'd love to, and like the way Dwayne Peel coaches it, like the way he goes about it. He's always a great post-match chat. So I'd like to see Scarlets go all the way. Shane poor Glasgow. I love Glasgow, but I mean, they can have they have the pure. They've already won the streets over, which is better than any trophy you can ever win. So I'd love to see Scarlets go all the way.
Yeah, so Scarlets are playing at home and against Glasgow, and then it's Toulon against Benetton. I would really love a Glasgow Benetton final. I would just love for Benetton to hopefully have a chance to qualify for the Champions Cup as well. I mean, they basically are Italy light, so that'll be also a great experience for them. And I think we can pivot from here to the last 2 rounds of the URC. We have 4 teams currently in South Africa at the moment. Leinster and Zebra are going to be doing 2 double headers against the Bulls and the Lions in Highveld for their sins. So that's going to be quite an experience for Teddy Pendergrass, or whatever you call the young Leinster fly-half. And then on the coast, we have Munster and Benetton facing the Stormers and the Sharks. And just to remind you of how the URC table looks like, Leinster, basically, they've secured the first spot. That's why they're sending their D team here. Stormers, Ulster, and Glasgow basically fighting out for second spot. Ulster, have only 2 points behind the Stormers. Stormers have 2 pretty tough matches against Munster and Benetton, and they probably have to get at least 8 points from those matches if they want to get second place and have the quarterfinal and the semi-final at home. Then after that, it's Munster, Connacht, Bulls, Sharks, Benetton, even Cardiff and the Lions that are all fighting for the other 4 spots in the URC knockouts. And more importantly, the 3 places that are left for automatic qualification for the Champions Cup. So there's a lot to play for now, Kooks. And if you want to talk about sort of the road ahead, the Sharks probably have the hardest road ahead because, yes, they're playing at home, but they're playing Benetton and Munster, who both have things to play for, respectively. Benetton has basically bought the Italian team here. Munster have bought an even stronger team than the one that they bought for the Champions Cup last 16 game. And the Bulls, on the other hand, they need the wins, but they're only facing, the Reece Ruddock All-Stars and Zebre. So they don't have too much to worry about. While Munster's probably going to lose points playing away from home in South Africa. And Connacht have, in their final game, a match against Glasgow. All of that to say that there's a lot of moving chairs that will be happening over the next 2 weeks. Kooks, I think you're relatively comfortable if you're a Bulls fan, because for all intents and purposes, they should get 8 points at the very least from these next 2 games and qualify. The Lions have a sneaky hope at getting into the last 8. But the Sharks, you're worried, man, because, if you don't perform near the level that you performed for the first 60 minutes against Toulouse, Benetton's going to beat you.
Yeah, 100%. If you don't, flip it. And the Benetton side is strong, and they're very confident as well, coming off, obviously, of making their first ever semi-final. And I'm hoping they play well. I'm going to go watch the Sharks live on Friday, so they better play well. But again, if the Sharks rock up the first 60 minutes against Toulouse, against Toulouse, they should win both games. But it's just frustrating. The Sharks have had to go this route, and that Scarlet's loss is annoying. But no, I think I'm gonna go with the Sharks to do the job and make the win of the playoffs. I think the Boks will step up. I think the Sharks will can-string 2 games. It's at home. Their fate's in their own hands, and they're at home. So that's the thing. If they can't do it in Durban, then we shouldn't be they shouldn't be in the playoffs. As simple as that.
And they shouldn't be in the Champions Cup as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, especially the Champions Cup. But I just hate the fact the Sharks are in this position. Like, why? Why do you have to be in this position? It's so good. It's so frustrating.
And it'll be typical Sharks for them to actually lose against Benetton as well. Some ugly 21 points to 10 match or something like that on Friday.
100%. Or they go win, or they're going to win 52-3. Like, that's the thing. That could happen. But I'm hoping for the in-between. Just give me just 27-15, shake hands, we go again next week.
Yeah. So there's, basically all to play for in these next 2 games. And, I mean, the Stormers also facing Munster Munster at home this week. They're going to have a tough game for themselves. Munster still has a lot to play for. They're going to need... Munster's going to try to get at least 1 match, because that will probably get them into the top 7. But bonus points will be important in that game. And then the Lions and the Bulls will have to hope that Leinster and Zebre are only here for the vibes and are only here to, get in some, autumn schoolboy rugby, to go see the sights and sounds of Kruger. Kooks, I don't know, you might need to be a tour guide for them to show them the sights and sounds of Joburg and Pretoria.
Yeah, I might as well. I mean, rugby's a side activity. The things they'll do, like, oh, by the way, you can't go in this game drive. You've got to play a game of rugby for 80 minutes. But they're basically here on holiday, pretty much. That's their plan.
They are, yeah. I can't imagine that the Zebre team is going to be doing much more than vibes. Yes, the Leinster team is probably going to try to prove that they are the next island side for the next 5 years, but the Zebre team should be all here just for vibes. And there's some big games, at least this weekend. The Cardiff game is going to be pretty much a knockout game for those 2. If Connacht can win, they probably get themselves into the top 8 and knock out Cardiff. And they'll also have some consequences for the Welsh Shield and whoever qualifies from Wales. Ulster's going to be expecting 5 points against Dragons so that they can put pressure on the Stormers, so that they have to win. And Glasgow are going to have their first... This works out quite well for Glasgow. Glasgow's going to have their match against Scarlets this weekend. So they're going to have a first spar off before their semi-final in the Challenge Cup.
Gonna be like, who's gonna blink first? Now you gotta hide moves, that you can't use different calls now just to make sure that no one knows the calls for the semi-final. Just try to trick the opposition, be like, they're gonna like just not gonna pick Hugh Jones so they can't work him out.
Yeah, there might be some shenanigans happening this weekend. Kooks, just as we get into the end point of this podcast, two things that I'm innocently asking you about. Did you see that World Rugby is considering the Super Rugby system of the orange card and referring people to get off for yellows and all that sort of stuff, and the 10-minute thing that they did with Angus Blythe this weekend for the Reds?
Oh no, Thala. What is going on in rugby? Why? What that thing of why can't you rather make us wait 5 minutes, make a decision, then like here's a yellow, we're gonna rewatch it again, and then like, oh, by the way, it's a red now. So guys, rugby's gonna hurt me. It's gonna hurt me, Thala. It's like it's frustrating me actually. Like why are we following a narrative of a team that plays rugby on a Thursday? So I don't understand.
Yeah, I knew that would probably get a reaction from you.
Any like card system that it cannot be based on what's happening in Super Rugby Pacific. Like it cannot be. Not when there's like 2 red cards every single weekend. Like they can't lead the charge in rugby, like in card trials. Like not them. Like what a club team in South Africa rather. Not those oaks on there at Super Rugby Pacific, which is basically trying to kill each other. Was it one? I think it was Angus Blythe. There saw one 2 weeks ago. Almost took his head off. He got a yellow card. And like they needed like to go like they didn't go sit down for like 5 minutes. Like, oh, by the way, that's a red card. I'm like, guys, what is going on here?
He only got 3 weeks ban as well.
What?
Yep, 3 weeks.
3 weeks. So you got the same ban that Emmanuel Chituka got. The exact same ban. Yep. Oh, I told you. Those oaks, they can't be in charge of card systems and trials. You must kill the poor. And like you almost like flipping, like we could have another Quinn Tupia incident as well, where he can't play rugby because of the other flipping oaks trying to break other oaks' knees. Well, I just can't do Super Rugby Pacific and like they flipping card systems, a 20-minute red card, which is the worst thing in the world. Where you can't, for example, like almost take someone's knee out, or take someone's head out, and then sit for 20 minutes. And then you go back to 15. That cannot be, it can't work like that.
Yeah.
It cannot work like that.
I agree. You have to punch the team.
And then you're going to have to then you're going to sit here, you're going to Twitter, but red card ruined games. What about Oaks taking knee? Quinn Tupia can't go to World Cup now because, what's his name? What's his lock's name?
Darcy Swain.
Darcy Swain there. And wasn't bad, like, and there wasn't given a red. But like, then also just give red. 2 minutes later, the Wallabies are back to full strength, but they all can't go to the World Cup now. Like, for me, an incident like that, like Darcy Swain, you as banned is until Quinn Tupia gets back on the field. That's how long your suspension is for. If you take someone out like that, you gotta be. If he's out for 9 months, you ban for 9 months. Same. Okay, that's the way for me. I'll have it because you can't have Oaks diving at knees or something, giving a yellow card, and then comes back in 3 weeks' time as if nothing happened. Like, I'm sorry, like, it can't work like that. It can't work like that. Damn, Super Rugby Pacific.
I knew I knew that would get you worked up quite quickly. And then finally, any shout outs that you have, Kooks, maybe to stuff that you were watching over the weekend in the schools or stuff that you may be going to in the next few weeks?
The funny thing, my shout out is about the Super Rugby Pacific. Shout out to the Chiefs again. Like, you know what it is, eh? Like, the certain thing. The Super Rugby Pacific, I may have destroyed you, but you did have very nice players to watch. That's why we're still hanging in there. The last couple of weeks, I didn't watch the Chiefs play. I must say something. It reminds me of peak Super Rugby. It's just so much fun watching Daniel McKenzie play rugby on a Friday or Saturday morning. It's just like it like makes your whole day. When he's cooking and the Chiefs are cooking, they're probably one of the best sides to watch. It's just like Daniel McKenzie. I'm so excited he's back on our screens. He's back from Japan. He's playing well. And I'm very excited to see what they do with him come World Cup time. But it's just very, very. It's just a great way to start your day. Just watching Dane McKenzie play rugby. I've been on the pod for a week, so he's been my shout out. Just whether it's a 10 or fullback, it puts me in a happy place. I must say the rugby in the Super Rugby Pacific has been good. I mean, barring the discipline issues. I do have a little bit of wallaby fear, a little bit. I think there's. I'm very. Did you see, by the way, Eddie Jones' first training squad? That's very interesting. With no Tate McDermott.
I don't know what. I don't know what Harry Wilson needs to do more. I don't know what Tate McDormand needs to do more. Yeah, it is up to his old tricks again. And the country of Australia has to be. Yes, that's what I was about to say. The country of Australia has to be arrested for how they're treating Lolosio. Like, I get it. He's not the most talented fly-off in the world, but you can't tell me that Ben Donaldson is better than Lolosio.
No, absolutely not. I refuse to believe that. And like, also, I always feel like he's the scapegoat, and I don't think he's as bad as what people like. Look at some of the tests before he got dropped last year. I'm like, geez, Dave Rennie, like, I feel like I'd rather go with him and maybe like a Reece Hodger Ted. Do you know what I mean? You're like, just like, can we like just give the kid a chance? But Ben Donaldson, I'm like, unless obviously Cooper is going to be his 10 if he manages to get fit. But at least for me, have a look in at Lolosio and be like, unless, but I'll definitely get in a Kobalo in if the way he's playing at the moment, that experience at 9. But like, no Tate McDermott. I mean, I'll never have Jake Gordon ahead of Tate McDermott. No, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to stomach that one, but it's going to be interesting what Eddie does. I mean, I do think the Wallabies, there's the Tars are playing a lot better, and the Reds up and down. Brumbies are brumbering. I'm very interested to see what Eddie Jones does. That's a big part of it. Was also fast forward to July, so you can have a look at these the test sides already and see what they do. But yeah, I'm a big Super Pacific. Dave McKenzie, shout out to you guys. Crusaders just can't play rugby in February now. I think they've won their last 5, so they're probably going to bleed the Blues again in the semi-finals, and the Blues are going to be another one. Oh my word, Blues at this.
Blues are not making a final. Get that out of your system right now.
Yeah, Blues are struggling at the moment. But anyway, but again, anyone who loves schoolboy rugby, make sure you do tune into Grey Bloom versus Ojanico this weekend. It's going to be a massive, massive game. That's what I'm really looking forward to. Definitely going to have to find some time. I think 3:30. Oh man, damn, school's up. I played my school in high school. I played my games at 11. So by the time the Grey and then played, I forgot I played rugby that day. So I think Grey Bloom, and then that's going to be a cracker. But who's your shout out?
Cooks, we love an underdog story here. I think we need to take time to, celebrate the underdogs. And, there's been a team that's been losing 10 matches in all competitions. And we had questions about, whether rugby was dying in this region, what we need to do to revive rugby here. Like, are kids even wanting to play rugby anymore? They're going to soccer now. Like, what's going to happen if we lose the great state of Pretoria to rugby now? And the Bulls, the true underdog story that they are, came back from a 10-loss streak, selected all of their Springboks and the Springboks dads and everyone else, and they decide they're going to show the Griquas a lesson on Friday. And I don't even know if Caden Moody knows what the Currie Cup is, but he definitely played, and he was part of a 40-3 victory over the Griquas on Friday. Caden Moody played in the Currie Cup for the first time, not knowing what it is. Ron Okia has, I think, played every second of every game, more or less, in the last few months. And the Bulls have now shifted away from automatic relegation. They've moved above the Griffins. They're longtime rivals to go 2 points ahead of them, and are making that slow trudge up in the standings now. Now, I'm not sure what Jake's going to do the next few weeks, because the URC and Super Rugby, the URC and the Currie Cup's going to be happening at the same time. So I don't know if Kirky Arendse and the boys are going to be playing 2 games in the same weekend, now that Jake's also now coaching 2 teams at the same time. But yeah, at least the Bulls are not an automatic relegation anymore. So they're trying to make that long ascent up the table to try and at least get to 6th place by the end of the season.
Listen, if Brock Harris can play 2 games in one day, I'm sure Kurt Yard and Ken Moody can play 2 games in one weekend. Cheapers. Yeah, Thala, that's great. Yeah, Pretoria hasn't seen a win for a while in their great city. I mean, from Tuks to Curry Cup to URC, it's been a drought there. But I'm hoping the Bulls can use this to sort of build up momentum and plow the way through and just make a way. I mean, them and this they only 6-7 Springboks on their side. I mean, who only has 5-6-7 Springboks that can use it. This momentum to sort of rise up, but for all I want is one of the Bulls. If the Bulls got relegated, that would have been. I mean, they're still in the charts, but I can't have the Tuks playing in Fort Hare and the Bulls playing against SWD Eagles or playing against
Bulldogs.
Oh my goodness! Whoa. Like they can get in the same flight actually. Like while they're there,
they can.
You guys sort out Wusu this side, and we'll sort out the Border Bulldogs on this side. But shame. I'm hoping that Ron. The nice thing though, talking about Ron Kira playing every game. The nice thing now is at least not playing Varsity Cup Mondays. So now you can just rest and just play on the weekends. Now obviously because he's playing Mondays for the Tuks. Then you have to play for the Bulls. But he's probably going to play for that on the 20 side as well. Probably just I think the competition is still going on because I mean Ron has to play every single game and every single minute. That's how he leads, Tyler. That's how he leads the union, by playing every single game. Unless he's got one club game coming up, the club season starts this weekend in Joburg. So I'm sure if they're playing on a Friday night, that's the least he can do. The least he can do is play one club game.
You know that Dr. Strauss has been saying that the Bulls are so committed to their club rugby. So I'm sure now all those Bulls players have to play club rugby this weekend as well. So I'm sure.
I don't think Dr. Strauss's. I don't think Dr. Strauss' Twitter works anymore. I haven't seen him tweeting for a while. I don't know if it's been suspended or I don't know if it's his daughter. But
it must be load shedding. It must be load shedding.
Must be load shedding. Because last year when the Bulls had every single trophy in South African rugby, we all knew about it. We did, and we loved it, And he reminded us every week. You reminded us every week. Jared did because nobody's love for the Blue Bulls. While tweeting from PSP's guest house. So that's how someone needs to check on Dr. Strauss's Twitter, please, guys. Please check out Dr. Strauss. We need his thoughts. His thoughts back on Twitter.
As Dylan Jack said last week, once Dr. Strauss claimed the Varsity Cup as one of the trophies that the Bulls have won, that was the end of that whole Bulls domination of South African rugby. That's when he had to stop talking about things like that. And I can confirm he has not tweeted in 2 weeks.
Exactly. Why aren't you doing about the Tuks? Talk about Tuks and be like, yeah. So since the trophies also belongs to them, be like, it's so sad. One of our boys has been relegated. And now we got to find a way to bounce back from it. I must say I'm very excited for the Blue Bulls versus Leopards promotion relegation game in Loftus. I'm very keen for that. I'm definitely going to make it there. That should be a sold out game. Should be played at Olin Park. Should be at Poch. That's going to be a good game. Friday night. I mean, that's what I don't think Quedley Orange and Ken Moody have even been to Poch. I think that's going to be a great way to start that. I think that should be like soon. I think that's what people want. Who cares about URC finals when the Bulls are playing against the Leopards to try to stay in the Curry Cup? That's all I need to happen.
I'm sure Rassie Erasmus is excited that his 2 starlets at outside backs are playing each and every game available for the next few weeks.
At least they're playing against the Griffins. We can't have Ken and Moody being tackled by Mark 8 September, who should be in the bulk mix, by the way. Updated to France. I need to see Mark 8 September. That's who I need to see at 12. Mark 8 September. Anyone named Mark 8 September should be playing for the Springboks. That's a fantastic name.
No, he will definitely be coming into the race for the midfield now as well.
Don't forget,
Cooks.
sorry, Charlie, before you leave, don't forget Devin Williams in the mix for third fly half, guys. Please, I know we always mention the likes
Oh
of
my goodness.
LeBarc and Robert Dupree. Can we throw in Devin Williams as a third choice 10 and then make sure we're playing someone who can kick for poles at 15 because Devin Williams doesn't do that stuff. He just cooks. Against France, last 20 minutes, we can't score points. Just put him in at 10, let him cause havoc, and then then his job done. He look good in green and gold. Just don't ask him to kick for poles or for touch. So we got to keep a Colby or Willemse there, kick for poles for us.
Cooks, I need to ask you. I mean, we all know about your theory about coloured outside backs with scrum caps. I mean, and I was watching the Varsity Cup semi-finals, and I think it's Tino September, his name, from Puka. Like, yeah. I think that man's going to continue that tradition in a good way.
100%. He's again, he got any colour outside back with scrum cap on. The scrum cap is there just for control. It's just for control. Because he knows, like, if he has no scrum cap on, he's going to be a wild cannon. The scrum cap sort of gives him a little bit of structure, and then he's ready to sidestep you guys. And like I said, a coloured fly half who does not kick for poles is just as dangerous. Doesn't kick for poles, doesn't take kickoffs. His one sole responsibility is to just cause havoc, is to cook. I believe with a 10, this basically the only responsibility of a 10 is to control the game. Anything else, like kicking for poles, like no, I've got no time for that. We need our fullback does all our kicking. And like that, and the other most dangerous position is a short Afrikaans open-sided flanker with a scrum cap on. If that oak is like 181 meters, you're not winning the ball on the ground. Those oaks are a nuisance in the breakdown, an absolute nuisance in the breakdown.
No, Cooks, those are people you have to definitely watch out for. Yeah, and I'm sure those people will definitely be considered for the squads going forward as well. Cooks, thank you so much. That is a great wrap up of the week's rugby and week's goings on. All the best in your travels in around the country in the next few weeks. I'm sure that, and I hope that you can't go to the Glasgow Stormers semi-final match because you have to go to a Diamantfeld versus I don't even know what schools they're on Kimberley, but you have to go to one of those derbies there to come cover it there.
Yes, that is mean. That's why I hope the Bulls get automatically relegated. That's what I hope for. Automatically relegated.
I can't wait for our derby against the Pumas next season in the first division.
What do you mean? The Pumas will be champs, brother. Don't put yourself in the same bracket as the Pumas. They put 60 on you, and they'll do it again. Jimmy Stewart will do it again. He knows you very well.
Fair enough. And then thank you so much for all our listeners on Rugby Blitz. Thank you so much for following us on social media. And please follow us on wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get them. And please drop us a like or 5 stars and a rating and a comment so we can shoot up in those rugby podcast rankings. And we will see you next week with another episode wrapping up the URC as well. Bye.